Honey, guess what?
What?
We are about to record our first podcast episode ever.
You are so goofy.
I know, that's fine. Hey, for those of you who are joining us, thank you so much for being a part of our episode 1 of this podcast. We're very excited that you're here. Now, you might be wondering, well, who the heck are these guys? Like, who the heck are these people? Well, in this episode, we are going to share a little bit of our story. We're going to tell you what we're doing launching a podcast like this. And at the end, we're even going to give you a simple little challenge that could actually end up being pivotal for you and your blended family. So make sure you stick with us. Welcome to the Blended Family Coaching Show, where you'll discover how to move your stepfamily from just surviving to truly thriving.
Grab your headphones and listen in as we share practical, real-life strategies for building healthy bonds,
Understanding the kids' perspective,
romance and partnership,
parenting as a team,
and yes, even co-parenting with a difficult ex.
We're Mike and Kim Anderson, and we believe that with the right tools, every step couple can overcome the common challenges of stepfamily life.
Join us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations to discover how you can lead your family with confidence and create the future you really want. Again, welcome to episode 1, and thanks for spending just a little time with us today. Now, whether you've been navigating step-family dynamics for years or if you're just starting out, we want you to know that you're in the right place.
That's right. I remember when we were just starting out, we had only been dating for a few months.
Yeah.
Like, I had already met your daughter. She was 5 at the time.
Yeah.
Her name is Annika. And you know what? Annika and I hit it off actually really quickly.
You really did.
I even remember you saying, Annika's not really easy to warm up to people. And for whatever reason, she just immediately started interacting with me.
I was pretty
and
surprised.
It was pretty cool. Right around that time, it was actually the holiday season of the year 2000. And at that time, we'd only been dating for a few months, but we kind of made what seemed like a really easy decision at that time. And we got engaged.
Yeah.
You remember that first Christmas together as an engaged couple?
Yeah, that first Christmas was awesome. I mean, remember we bought 2 Christmas trees, one for each of our houses. We went to the Christmas tree farm and cut them down. And we brought your niece and nephew along, and all the kids were covered in decorations. And we just had a blast that day. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was fun having my niece and nephew over there decorating over at my house because we were managing 2 different houses. That's why we're getting 2 different trees. And I love that picture you mentioned, decorating the kids even. We've got this, remember that great picture we have where I think one of them has like ornaments hanging off their ears and one has one hanging off their clothes or something. I don't know. It's a great picture. I just love that.
Yeah, everyone was at ease and having fun. That year, it happened to be the year that Annika's dad, it was his turn to have her over Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, and then later in the day, she came over to my place.
Yeah,
and I remember,
that.
Honey, you came over just a bit later. And everything seemed perfect. It was wonderful. We were relaxed. I remember laughing a lot. It was that easy fun. It wasn't hard work. And Annika was in a great mood, right? And the 2 of you were clicking. You were really getting along. And it was just one of those moments when it feels like, oh, everything is right with the world.
Yeah, it's all perfect, right? Remember that ornament you made? It was so funny. It's a little heart-shaped ornament. We still hang it on our tree, actually. And it was just heart-shaped. And on it said, "Marry me." And I just remember pulling that down. And that was how we announced our engagement to Annika.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, "Come and read this with me." And she was 5? And she was just kind of learning to read, or maybe she was a little younger. And she was just learning to read. And I remember you starting to sound out that first word. And she's like, Mary. And as soon as she got to Mary, she's like, "Merry Christmas." We just started laughing. We're like, no, it's not quite what it says. Looking back on that was quite a bit of a risk, right? I mean, that could have been a disaster. We could have made this announcement on Christmas Day.
I know. I don't know that I would recommend that to anyone out there.
I know Annika really could have freaked out.
Yeah.
But lucky for us, it actually paid off.
Yeah.
She didn't freak out. She was excited. And so were we.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really fun.
Yeah, she was even there when we took engagement pictures. She was in a lot of those pictures, and she took some of the pictures, and she was really on board.
Yeah, remember, she was so little, and she actually took the picture that we used on our wedding announcement.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, that's a great picture. She was so little. And that was back before we had phone cameras.
Or digital,
and,
that was a real old-fashioned camera.
We've taken lots of risks.
Yeah. But we were feeling good, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember feeling really hopeful. I was excited. A new beginning, a second chance, and it was an exciting time for us. I was feeling confident.
Yeah, I was confident as well, and I was a little bit giddy. Like, I was pretty excited, even though I did have some fears. I was nervous, like any, groom to be probably would be,
especially stepping into the ready-made situation.
Exactly. But still feeling really peaceful and feeling pretty confident as well.
Yeah, and we didn't waste any time. That was Christmas of the year 2000, like Mike said. And then on March 16th of 2001, we were married.
That's right.
We didn't wait around too long.
Yeah. And, early on, I remember really feeling like we were such a great team. Like we were united. We were going to conquer the world, right? And, that's interesting because I grew up in a really complex and challenging step family. And I remember having this really weird dichotomy that was going on inside of me where on the one hand, I was scared to death because I didn't want to experience those same challenges that I experienced growing up. And I just remember how painful that was.
Yeah, you were kind of terrified.
I was. Yeah, that's a good word for it. But then at the same time, I was thinking that, you know what, I'm going to be super stepdad, right? Because I thought I knew all about what not to do.
Yeah.
And it really didn't take me that long to realize that knowing what not to do and knowing what to do are two very different things.
Yeah, it took some time, but you definitely landed there.
Yeah.
And, those first several months, they went pretty well. At that point, we had a parenting schedule that was 50-50. So Annika was at her dad's house 50% of the time. And that really gave us little bits of the honeymoon. It was great. We got to kind of experience that time with no kids around.
Which is not really that common for step families.
Everyone gets that.
We weren't complex because I wasn't bringing any kids into the step family. So we did have that time, but not everybody gets that.
And I think throughout that time, we got lulled into this sense of, this is going to be a lot easier than we thought.
Yeah.
We kind of just
We're
thought
like
we
Brady
had it.
Bunch 2.0.
We really thought we had it together.
Yeah.
But then just 9 months into our marriage, some of those first signs started showing up that maybe we really don't have this figured out.
Mm-hmm. Haven't we heard this story? From so many different couples.
Many times.
Yeah. If you're kind of following along here and you're doing the math, like, okay, they got married in the middle of March and 9 months later, guess what? We're back at Christmas time again,
it's the
right?
holidays.
Yeah. And this was our first Christmas after we were married. And this time, it was our turn to have Annika over on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. But you know what? This year, that first year of us having Christmas together as a married couple, was definitely different from the year before.
And living under the same roof. That really changes things.
Right.
And, I have this family tradition growing up. We always had strawberry waffles and whipped cream on Christmas morning. And that was like my dream to carry that on. And
hey, it's like red and white. Like I never put that together.
Yeah.
Red strawberries and white whipped cream. It's like a Christmas
and it's sweet. And most kids like it. So I was really excited to, hear our new family starting off. And we're going to have this great tradition. And I have all these positive, happy memories connected with this tradition because that's a meal I really enjoy.
Yep.
And right there in the middle of it, Annika decides to have a big, huge meltdown.
Yeah.
She is not happy with the strawberry waffle selection for breakfast. She's just absolutely having a huge meltdown. I can't do anything to console her. And it was a rough one.
It was, like the complete opposite of the year before. I remember standing in the kitchen and here's Kim sitting at the kitchen table, her head in her hands, tears streaming down her face. Annika stomping off down the hall to her bedroom, slamming the door, which shook the whole place because we're in this tiny little 700 square foot house. And I'm standing at the sink. I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, I'm at a total loss. This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what the last year has been like for us, because things were going well. And all of a sudden on Christmas, it's like breaking down. I didn't know if I should, try to come over and comfort you or try to console you. Or maybe I needed to challenge you to like do something and not just sit there and cry, but go do something about Annika's behavior. Or maybe I should go after Annika. Maybe like I needed to step in and do some parenting of my own, but I really didn't know how to do that. And man, I was just frozen. And I was thinking, how did we end up here?
Yeah, I remember that moment. But actually, I was in a pretty different place than you were. I remember it very differently. Sure, I was disappointed. It felt like Annika had ruined Christmas morning. I think I was feeling a lot of emotion because this tradition was important to her. I mean, to me, but I realized this tradition really isn't all that big of a deal to her.
She didn't care about it.
But the whole scene, I really wasn't surprised by, because that was typical behavior for Annika, who at that point was 6 years old. That was nothing new. So my perspective was really different than your perspective that morning, honey.
Yeah.
And, Mike, he didn't have any kids of his own yet. So he hadn't experienced that, those moments of meltdown and parental, what's going on here?
Not that we didn't see that along the way over those 9 months, but there was something different about this moment.
Yeah. And this was on a holiday when our expectations were, it's going to be like last year. It's going to be fun and warm fuzzies and all of that. And it was just so dramatically different. There was disappointment, and we both experienced that. But I don't remember it being as big of a deal as you do, honestly.
Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday.
I was feeling frustrated, certainly, and I was kind of worn out. I was tired. You know how you get your expectations up and then they're dashed and you're just exhausted. At this point in my parenting journey, I was pretty permissive. I mean, we've talked about that, of course, over the years. Following my divorce, I'd say that my parenting decisions were really driven mostly by fear and guilt. Yeah. There was a lot of that stirring in me. And so
we hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's very typical.
It's hard.
Yeah. So I really avoided disciplining my daughter because I wanted our time together, our 50% time, just to be fun and happy. I didn't want to soil it with, discipline. Eventually my permissive parenting became a real problem for us, which we're going to share in upcoming episodes.
That's right.
That was a turning point for us. That Christmas morning, it definitely had these emotionally charged moments, but I just don't remember it being as big of a deal as you did.
Yeah.
Because I was used to the tantrums. Now, I certainly felt disconnected from you in that moment. And a lot of that, I think, had to do with, and when I think about it and I'm honest with myself, I was kind of embarrassed by her behavior and the fact that I really didn't have a lot of parental authority over her at that point. I mean, she was talking disrespectfully to me. She was really acting out, and I was kind of paralyzed, so I was embarrassed a little bit. And I honestly was not ready to receive any help from you.
What, you didn't think I would have very many parenting skills either?
No, I didn't want to hear your side of the story there or have anyone tell me how to handle a situation with my child. And I wasn't ready to change anything about my parenting at that point.
Sure.
So it wouldn't have been well received. So I remember that just feeling icky and heavy and this is not fun.
We're so excited to let you know about something brand new we've created just for you.
We've realized that with so many episodes available here on the show, it might feel a bit overwhelming to find the topics that matter most to you. That's why we've created a simple tool for you to receive a personalized playlist focused on your current struggle or your biggest challenge.
That's right. It's called the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz. You'll answer just a few questions, and based on your responses, we'll email you a curated custom playlist of episodes that are specific to you.
This simple quiz will direct you to the most impactful episodes that pertain to you personally and keep you on track in your journey of discovery, learning, and growth. So, scroll all the way to the bottom of the show notes for this episode and click the link to take the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz today.
Okay, let's get back to the discussion. It's interesting to me because I think so much of our story is represented here. We have these expectations that are set, and we're excited going in, and there's joy and all of this, like that first Christmas when we were just engaged and everyone was happy and getting along and there were no hiccups. And then we have this idea, that means this is just going to be easy. This is easy street. Like, what's everybody complaining about?
What's the big deal?
And then only 12 months later, suddenly the expectation is brought into reality.
Yeah.
And now we're going, wait a second, this isn't what I hoped for and it's not what I expected. And I think that is the same story we hear over and over as we've worked with couples along the way.
Yeah.
You know, in that moment, we kind of ended up just sweeping it all under the rug.
Yeah.
And this perspective we have now wasn't present then. We didn't know.
Yeah, we were
in
avoidance mode for sure.
Absolutely. And so we just kind of moved on, and later we had a decent day. And because of the schedule, Annika ended up going to her dad's later that day. And so we were able to decompress. And I recall, though, that in that moment, I feel like we went from united to divided in no time at all. And I was wondering what were we going to do about that? And what if that happened again?
Yep.
I didn't know quite what to feel or what to think. And, you know, as you're listening to this, maybe you can relate to that. And sure, the details of your story are, I'm sure, very different than ours. But we hear from step couples all the time how excited they were to start their life together. And then somewhere along the way, they were just blindsided by how quickly the teamwork breaks down. It's really challenging. They weren't expecting, the level of conflict that's happening in their home or the pushback that they're getting from the kids. And they just feel like they've been on completely different pages about how to move forward and fix the issues. And their perspectives about the issues themselves can be miles apart. You know, and that's kind of okay. It's like, it's okay that Kim was feeling very different. Like it wasn't as big a deal to her in the morning. And even 18 years later, we still don't see it the same way.
Right.
She was frustrated, but she was just in a different place. But it's also okay that I was feeling really frustrated and stuck and feeling like, man, this is something we have to fix and do something about, even though Kim didn't quite feel the same way. And it's even okay that, or we'll say it's normal that at 6 years old, 6-year-olds have meltdowns. That's the way it is.
They sometimes Annika don't like what you serve them.
Yeah. But the reality is none of that feels good.
Yeah.
And instead of feeling connection, it leaves us feeling very disconnected. And that's not what we want.
Yeah. We were both feeling a lot of emotions, but they weren't the same emotions. And that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really easy at that point when you get to that place where you're feeling disconnected and uncomfortable. It's really easy to start pointing fingers, right? And blame everyone else in your family. You blame your stepkid. Sometimes we blame the exes, or we blame our spouse for not understanding more, whatever. But in most cases, it's really more about the dynamics and these challenging dynamics that every blended family experiences to some degree or another.
Yep.
It's all about learning some healthy strategies for living in these dynamics. It's not really about getting people to change who they are, because that's an unrealistic expectation.
That's kind
right?
of impossible. Yeah.
We like to say that we want step couples to learn to live well in the tension.
Absolutely.
Because there is going to be tension, and that's okay. But how do you thrive in the tension, and how do you apply these strategies? Yeah,
we've experienced highs and lows in the last 18 plus years of blending. And, along the way, we've had 2 kids of our own, mutual kids, and they're really a blessing. at the same time, that comes with more challenging dynamics for us and for Annika.
Yeah. And to add to those complexities, Annika's dad also remarried and added 3 kids in their home as well. And all of that really created a lot of confusion and some very real struggles for Annika.
Yep. And over the years, we've experienced a ton of different seasons. So, some of those seasons have been really hard. Like the seasons where we were really in disagreement over what the expectations and the behaviors should be for all the kids in our home and how we were going to enforce them. Mm-hmm. We had a really hard time,
oh, yeah.
like getting on the same page around that. Or I was going to say, do you remember? But of course you remember the 6-hour standoff that we had in silence while our whole family was trapped in the car on the way back from this majorly failed vacation.
I wish I didn't remember. I wish I could erase that from my memory.
Yeah. And then that took us straight into, a 3-day standoff where we really almost didn't talk to each other at all for 3 days after that.
It was the silent treatment.
Yeah.
We've had those emotional triggers. We sometimes refer to those as ghosts from our past. We both struggled with those things, that baggage that we brought into our relationship, and it's caused a lot of pain.
Yeah. How about the night that you had yourself locked in the upstairs bathroom because you were afraid of me?
Yeah. Yeah, that was an explosive fight that we were in the middle of, and we were kind of stuck in this cycle.
Yeah, that was hard. That's still hard.
I know.
You can hear my voice cracking because
you can tell which one of us is the emotional one.
Yeah, I'm the goofy and emotional one, but man, it really hurts to think back on knowing that I put my wife in the place where she felt like she had to lock herself in the bathroom to keep herself from me.
Yeah.
I behaved really poorly that night.
And that was tied to some of your stuff from the past too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Probably the hardest season, though, was the 3 years that we spent in the family courts. We were dealing with a case of parental alienation with my ex. It was painful. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
It was expensive.
Yeah.
And that season left us completely disconnected, honestly. And because we kind of didn't maintain our marriage. We let it slide to the back burner, and we were on the verge of separation when we came out of that long season.
Yeah, those are hard seasons. Now, on the flip side, we've had some really amazing seasons of absolute joy as well, right? Like the time, I remember it was right after we got married. I was doing some work in a little rental house we had because we both had houses, and so we converted one into a rental. I needed to do some work, and I mean, it must have been literally weeks after we were married. It wasn't very long.
No.
And I'm getting out of the car, and I kiss Kim goodbye, I like lean over the seat to kiss her through the window goodbye. And I hear this cute little voice in the back seat that says, "Me too." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "I want to kiss too." And I thought that was so cool. That was like the first time that she really asked for affection from me. And that was just a really sweet moment. And we had lots of those kind of moments. Or how about when the first time we took her to Disneyland?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man, she was worn out. She fell asleep in her mac and cheese, like literally like her face is in the mac and cheese. And man, I felt so much like Daddy picking her up and carrying her back to the hotel room. That was such a sweet moment.
That's a long way too.
It was. I didn't care. It was awesome.
Oh, and I remember like the tent camping adventures together, right? As a family, all of us sleeping in the same tent, all nuzzled up together, and these crazy adventures that we had out in the wilderness, exploring nature. And we've had a lot of fun too, taking family pictures. That's kind of something that's near and dear to my heart. I love pictures and scrapbooking and all of that. But this was, we got to take candid shots of the kids. Just playing and goofing around. And so we had a lot of really, really great moments.
Sweet moments, sweet seasons, absolutely. And these are all stories and more that we're going to share in the weeks and the months and hopefully the years to come right here on the Blended Family Coaching Show. And more importantly, we want to share the lessons that have come through those experiences, as well as the research-backed strategies and tools that we've learned along the way.
Yeah, in that season when we were close to separation, we had to fight for our marriage. We had to fight for our family. And, we want to share that journey with you.
That's right.
In fact, in our next episode, we're going to share our 5 focus framework. And it's really exciting because it can help you to intentionally lead your blended family to that success that you're really looking for, where you want to be. So we don't want you to miss out on that. We hope you join us because we truly believe that with the right tools, every step couple can overcome those common dynamics, those challenges that we seem to have in blended family life. And we also hope that you're going to be able to join us and get a really clear understanding of the importance of this 5 focus framework, because it's a great start and you can get going right away. You can discover the tools that you need to really thrive.
That's right. So make sure you hit subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify, wherever it is that you're listening, because we don't want you to miss out on those real life practical tools that your blended family needs. Yeah. Now, we said we were going to give you a challenge, and here it is.
Ooh, are you ready for it?
Sometime today, before the end of the day, I want you to just sit down either on your own or with your spouse, and I want you to imagine for just a moment that you fast forwarded about 15 years into the future. Okay, you're at a family gathering and all the kids are there when the question gets asked of your kids, hey guys, what was it like growing up in your home? And here's what I want you to do. I want you to write out just a little short list of all the things that you hope that you would hear from your kids and your stepkids in that moment. Don't speed through this, but take some time to think about what you really want to hear in that moment from your kids and your stepkids. That right there, that's your goal. And getting you to that goal is what this podcast is really all about.
That's right. Absolutely. So make sure that you subscribe and you'll be reassured that you have us as partners to lean on every week. We want to be there for you. You really don't have to go this alone. I know sometimes it feels lonely, but it doesn't have to be that way. You're in the right place, and we're going to support you every step of the way. So no more feeling alone, no more overwhelm. We get that all the time, system overwhelm in blended families. Yep. Instead, you're going to know that you've got a go-to resource for encouragement, for support, for practical tips, all along your blended family journey.
That's right. Now, we've only shared a few pieces of our story in this episode, and we're betting that most of you stepmoms and stepdads, as well as bio parents, have felt overwhelmed by your own story at times, just like we have. Now, we've had the opportunity for over a decade to support step couples just like you, and that's why we're here. Our hope for this podcast is that we're going to offer you some new insights, real life practical strategies, and tips, like Kim said, that are going to keep you centered on building the connection that you really want for your blended family and avoid the common pitfalls that come along with all the complexities.
Lots of those.
Yeah. So just one more time, I'm asking you to hit subscribe and then go grab that paper and pen or maybe the notes app on your favorite device and get clear on exactly what it is you want to hear from your kids and stepkids at that future family gathering someday. Yeah. Hey, that's a wrap. This is the end of our first episode. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 1. And make sure to catch our next episode where we're going to share that 5 focus framework that's going to help you to reach your blended family goals. Bye for now.
Bye.